Rockies, mate. I'm the anatomical analogy hunter. Or, the crocodile analogy hunter. Let's say that of anatomy, but we're not going to talk in that accent this episode. We are going to discuss the denaturation of proteins. So denaturation, that's a big fancy word, isn't it? But it's big and fancy, but it's pretty simple when we really break it down here. So first of all, changes in environmental conditions do lead to the denaturation of proteins. Denaturation pretty much is just when proteins lose their complex shape, they begin to unfold, and they all, as a result, lose their functionality. So in the last video we discussed the different levels of protein structure. So when protein denaturation occurs, a protein may go from a tertiary structure to a secondary structure, or might go from a quaternary structure to a tertiary structure, a quaternary structure to a secondary structure. So essentially, protein denaturation due to changes in environmental conditions, which we'll discuss more in depth here in a second, lead to the unfolding of a protein, which makes the shape less complex, which in turn, as a result, leads to loss of functionality of a protein. So protein denaturation is not a good thing. We need our proteins to function properly for our whole bodies to function properly here. But usually the environmental conditions that lead to denaturation of a protein are a change in pH and a change in temperature. So for proteins to function optimally, they need to be at a specific temperature and a specific pH. If the pH or temperature raises too much, the protein loses its functionality. It begins the denature. If the pH or temperature lowers below this optimal pH or optimal temperature, guess what? Protein denaturation is a result. So the unfolding of the protein, the losing of the complex shape, and as a result, loss of functionality. So proteins need to stick within this specific range of pH and temperature in order to function properly, pretty much at the end of the day. So think of so if the temp increases or decreases, boom, loss of functionality. Temp or pH increases or decreases, boom, protein denaturation, loss of functionality of the protein. So the protein moves from a quaternary structure to a tertiary, secondary, or so on and so forth there. But think of a protein as a snowman. So when the temperature gets warm, the snow melts, and the snowman obviously changes his or her shape. Or snowman or woman, I guess, changes his or her shape. And also, guess what? If you change the pH of the snowman by maybe making some yellow snow, aka pissing on the snowman, the snowman or woman will also change his or her shape. So if the temperature changes of this, the snowman's going to change the shape, and if the pH changes, for in this example, either pH increases or decreases, guess what? The protein or snowman or woman in this scenario is going to change its shape, which if it changes its shape, a snowman cannot function as a snowman. So a snowman or protein needs to be an ideal pH and ideal temperature in order to function properly there. So that's protein denaturation. It's simply put, it's the unfolding of a protein, losing its complex shape, losing its functionality, and that's often due to change in pH or change in temperature. So you gotta be an optimal pH, gotta be an optimal temperature for a protein to function properly. And proteins functioning properly is good. Protein's good, function properly, good. Protein function properly is good.